Hi everybody, this is just going to be a quick introduction for how you could use Microsoft Forms to collect input and feedback from your students. So I'm at portal.borderscollege.ac.uk, so this is just the college portal page, and I'm going to click on Office 365. Now I'm already logged in here. If you're not, obviously you'll need to log in with your Office 365 details. And once I get to this hub page screen, all I'm doing is looking for the Forms option. So it's kind of got an F on the icon there. Now once we get into Microsoft Forms, you've got two options here. We can create quizzes or forms. I'm just going to show you forms today because they're kind of better for feedback where there's no right or wrong answer. Quizzes are pretty much the same. The only difference is you can assign a correct answer and that way students will get some feedback about how they've scored in a quiz, and you can also leave feedback for correct and incorrect answers. So we're going to hit new form here, and I'm going to say Unit 1 feedback. So that's my title. If you want to, you can have a description. That's completely optional though. All we need to do to get started is click the add a question option. Now for my first option I'm going to have a rating. So I'm going to put how memorable was the content in Unit 1. So I've got an option here, so I've got up to 5 stars here, so they can put how memorable they thought it was. You can change that around to a number scale, things like that. You'll see here that you've got options for, you can duplicate a question if you're going to be asking something simple, so you can do that. Other thing to notice is you can delete them and change the order using the up and down options. Last thing that's important is we need to turn on this required option if we want to force students to answer particular questions. Next up, I'm going to put a text option because I'm going to say, was there some content that you would have liked to see in the unit that we missed? So perhaps there was a particular area or topic that students wanted to look at that didn't get a chance to go, or maybe something they want to come back for revision, things like that. So again, we can mark that as required. Long answer will give them a larger size text box for putting their answer in. If you leave that off, it just gives one line. It tends to help people produce kind of a little slightly more concise answers. I'm going to add another question here. This time I'm going to go for a choice. So this is a multiple choice one. So I'm going to say, which room did you prefer to work in? Let's have 0.039 and 2.004, something like that. So that just gives you an example of a kind of a multiple choice option you could give people there. You can add other options if you want to add them, or you can say other if perhaps students had another option they want to put in. Again, just making sure that one's required. You can allow multiple answers for that kind of question if you want to do. So here we go, I've got my form here and it's got feedback. It's got 3 questions here. So what I can do is, once I think I'm ready, is I can hit preview and it will give me a look for what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like on a computer. If I hit mobile up here, I'll get an idea for what it's going to look like on a phone. And when I go back again, if I'm happy with that, all the options I've got is I can change the theme. So if I want to jazz this up a little bit, maybe I can give this a different theme, make it look a little bit more appealing. It's always good to get something to catch people's eye, help them, encourage them to fill in stuff like this. So the next question is, I've done this, I want to share it with my students, what am I going to do? What I would recommend is when you hit share here, we've got these first 2 options. We've got send a link and give out a QR code. If you're in class with the students, what you can do is you can give them this QR code, you can show them this on the board, you can paste it into a PowerPoint, Moodle, something like that, and that way they can use that, they can scan that with any kind of barcode reader app on their phone. What we tend to find is probably easier is if you use this link option. You've got a link here, so I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to head into Moodle. So here I am heading into Moodle. I'm going to go into a course that I've got set up, an example one. I'm going to turn my editing on and I'm going to add activity or resource. So I've hit add an activity or resource and I'm going to add a link to a URL. So there's my URL. I'm going to hit add. I'm going to call it Unit 1 feedback. And I'm going to paste in that link that I got a minute ago. So once I've done that, all I need to do is click Save and Return to Course. And now I can see I've got a link here that would take my students through to that quiz where they could offer me some feedback. So if I want to see what that would look like, if I open a new browser window here. So I've opened a browser window where it doesn't know who I am. So here it is. So when your students come here to answer the quiz, they will be asked to sign in. Now that's useful because obviously it means that your quiz questions, things like that, can't get shared outside of the organisation. It has to be someone with an Office 365 account with Borders College, so it's only going to be staff or students. Once they've filled that in, what you're interested in is we want to see what are our responses. So your responses will come up here in this tab here. So we've got responses, and that number will fill up. It'll tell you how long it's taken people to complete, and you'll have a whole load of options for viewing the results, seeing what person said what, kind of summaries, averages, stuff like that. So you get a really nice, quick way of collecting feedback from students with forms. One thing people have asked me is how come you don't just use the choice option in Moodle? You absolutely can do that. You could create that in there as well. The reason why I'd emphasize forms is good for some cases is because it's very quick to create these forms. They're kind of more visually appealing. I'd say you can put something together quicker than you would do in Moodle, and it's really not much effort to put it back in Moodle using that link. Other thing you could do with this is you could send out the link in an email to students as well, which is always good, and that's anything you can do to encourage them to fill in feedback, stuff like that is always useful. So I hope you found that useful, and as always, if you've got any questions, just drop us an email at helpdesk@borderscollege.ac.uk.